Okay, hello. I'm Karis. If you're new to my channel, I'm actually kind of nervous to film this video because I've never actually filmed anything like this in my entire life before. I am going to be sharing my testimony today. Woo! And if you're new to the word testimony or anything, it's basically just a story of how I gave my life to Jesus and kind of just a story of my life. I'm Karis. I am from Wales, and at the moment I am at Bible College in Canada doing a youth ministry course. So that's who I am. So I thought I'd share my testimony because it's officially been 10 years since I first became a Christian and gave my life to Christ. I'm gonna say the most typical Christian person's beginning of their story to faith, whereas I grew up in a Christian home. I am an only child and my parents both Christians. My mum was brought up in the Brethren, and my dad didn't come to faith until he was in his late 20s. They brought me to church. I was dedicated in church. They brought me up in the most Christian way you could, you know, buy me little story Bibles, and I just had loads of influences throughout my whole childhood. And I would say in Sunday school at church, I was like the goody two-shoes kind of Christian where I'd be like, I know all the answers. It would be more to impress the Sunday school teacher, less about that I cared, if that makes sense. Like, it just didn't hit me. I was just like, okay, like this is what life is like. I just accept it because my parents have told me, so whatever. And I just didn't really think about it much. And when I prayed, it was very like, I pray for my guinea pigs, so my mum and dad, that they don't die, and just fear prayers of just like, there we go, I'm done. That's my daily prayer for the day. And so that was basically me growing up in a Christian home, but I didn't give my life to Christ until I was 14. There was a long period leading up to giving my life to Christ, and then it just kind of all went away. I got very influenced by school and people at school and lots of different stuff. You know what culture's like when you're in school? You want to be cool. You want to be popular. You want to be accepted because that's what school's like. I was kind of like being like, I don't want to go to church anymore. I'm not really interested in going. Like, I'd rather have a lie-in and do my own thing. Like, I don't want to go to church. Why do I need to go to church? That was my opinion as a 14-year-old. And my mum during this time was like, would you fancy going on a Christian camp up in North Wales? And I was like, I'll think about it. It sounds kind of fun. But she was showing me stuff and I was like, a slip and slide? Of course I'll be there. She signed me up and I told her a week later, I was like, actually, I really don't want to go. And she was like, Karis, I've paid all of the money now. Try it and see how it goes. If you really hate it that much, I will come and pick you up. So this is 4 months before the camp. And during these 4 months, in my opinion, I went so far away. It's probably not as dramatic as other people's stories, but I just kind of didn't care at all. Like, I would try and skip church as much as I wanted. I couldn't care less. I just wanted to be with my friends. I was swearing quite a lot and I was just going to a lot of house parties and different stuff like that. I never did anything that dramatic, but I had like a thought process in my mind of like, I want to be that kind of person who like, I don't know, has loads of boyfriends, goes around and does lots of stuff and like gets drunk and everything. Like, I had mentally made an idea of how I'm gonna reinvent myself over the summer for the next school year. Luckily, that happened a week before the camp and none of that ever happened. God caught me before I could actually put my mind process into plan. Like, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do, but God caught me just before I actually practiced what I had in my head. Going on to this camp, I was just like, oh my goodness, I do not want to go. My parents were driving me and this other girl who was going on to the camp up, so I kind of had to go because we were given a lift to another girl. So I was just like, I remember this so clearly. So I remember I was sitting at the back of my car and my mum looking at like the wing mirror. What is it called? The like mirror in the middle of the car. I forgot what it's called off the top of my head. Either way, I was in the back of the car and I had my headphones in and I was just like this, looking out the window like, and then she'd look over at me in the mirror and I'd be like, I can remember it so clearly. I was just so not happy about going. I remember when we first pulled up, everyone looked so happy. They already knew each other. They were all just like having the best time. And I looked at my window and I was like, these are the cringiest people of my entire life. I was like, get me out of here. And I was complaining the entire time. My parents like got me settled in and my mum was literally like, okay, I'm gonna give you 24 hours. If you hate it after 24 hours, I will come right back up and pick you up, but give it a chance. And so I was like, fine. So my parents like left for a little bit to like sort something out in the car. And this girl came into the room and I ended up making friends with her instantly. Like we hit it off instantly and she was one of my dorm mates. So we all like shared a room together. By the way, the camp is Brynna Groes EMW camps in North Wales. If you're thinking about going, go. It's great. I hit it off with this girl and we were already like friends like instantly. So my parents came back in the room and they were like, okay, we're gonna go now. And I was like, why are you still here? Bye. And they were like, oh, like 2 seconds ago you were telling me you didn't want to stay and now you're telling me to leave. And I was like, yep, bye. I don't care. I've made a friend. Bye. Over the progression of the next week, we had like loads of games, fun activities, and a lot of sermons. So I think we had like 2 sermons a day. And then you also had like breakout times as well of like choosing whether you want to go learn about faith and then a Bible study every night. I just really wanted to fit in whatever environment I was in. I just wanted to fit in. So I wanted to come across like I'm Christian. I don't want to come across like, oh my goodness, like I don't want to be here. I was like, I want to fit in with these people. So I would try and engage with everything, go to everything. But like my heart was just like so far away. And I think I only realized that while I was on the camp. And now we're gonna fast forward to the Thursday of the camp. Thursday, the 30th of July, 2015. That is the day I gave my life to Jesus. And I have an exact date and I could probably give you the time as well. It's probably like 11 p.m. Anyway, so we had this preacher. He was the same preacher throughout the week. He had been talking about all different topics, and on this Thursday he just got straight down to the point. He was an amazing preacher. If anyone was like about to fall asleep, he'd just go, you know, my camera moved, but he would just like engage people so well. I can't remember exactly what he talked about. It's 10 years ago, but I can get the gist of it. So he basically put it really plain and was like, you need to take giving your life to Jesus a serious thought right now. This can't be something that you just think about when you're like 90 on your deathbed. You just don't know how long you're gonna live. You don't know whether tomorrow is not promised. And he just put it so plainly as you're either going to heaven to live with God forever with an eternal promise, or you're not. You're going to be separated from God and have no way of changing your mind. And if tomorrow's not promised and I have no way of changing my mind after I pass away, then I would rather think about that right now. And he just put it so plainly. And I'd grown up in church my entire life and I just never had someone just outright say it in a way that really made me think. And I remember he was talking on the passage, I think it was Psalm 51. Either way, I still get confused now. So the preacher, he was either talking about Psalm 51 or Isaiah 51. I, after the service, went by myself to read my Bible, which was something I never did. And I read the wrong one. Okay, so he preached on Psalm 51, which is a Psalm of David and kind of him asking for God to forgive his sins. Psalm 51 verse 10. Create in me a clear heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and uphold me with a willing spirit. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he went in depth about everything and it just really impacted me. So I tried to find it again after the sermon, but I read Isaiah 51 by accident. Funnily enough, I ended up reading a passage that really impacted me more so than Psalm 51, which is crazy. But my salvation will be forever and my righteousness will never be dismayed. And I think it just really hit me that like, it's not just this life that we're living, there's a life after we die. And I'd rather think about that and not ignore it, because I don't want to just keep ignoring it until it's too late. So I ended up reading Isaiah 51 and then also Psalm 51 because I was like, shoot, I think I've read the wrong one. But both of them really impacted me like so deeply. After I finished having my little time of reading that, I went back into my dorm room and my friend who I made at the beginning, her sister talked to me the second I went through the door, and I was just kind of like, oh my goodness, what have I just read? Like I was just like, oh my goodness. And then I walked into the room and they were having like a deep discussion and I tried to like sneak in and sit down. But this girl, she went to me and she was like, Karis, are you a Christian? And I was like, yeah, I am. And she's like, yeah, but are you a Christian? And I just froze in that moment and I was like, I don't know. I don't think I am. And it just felt, I talked to her after this and she can't remember saying it. And I just felt God really just went to me and was like, yeah, but are you truly? And I couldn't lie. I was like, no, I'm not. I've grown up in church and I have all the knowledge, but I haven't actually given my life to Christ. I was still trying to hold on to my own life. I was still trying to control my own life and put myself first. I hadn't surrendered my life and given my life to Jesus and put him first and let him be in control. And I didn't have a relationship with God. And so I just cried a single tear. And then they carried on having a conversation, but I think we ended up just going to bed immediately after that. So I remember I was just laying in bed and I was just thinking, and I was like, I'm not a Christian. I thought I was. I thought I was saved because my parents are. My parents are Christian, but I was like, I'm not. And so I lay there and I prayed my first ever real prayer. I read my testimony last in 2018 when I got baptized. So I went to bed that night and prayed that God would forgive me for my sins and that I believe that Jesus died for me. So I remember praying like a really earnest prayer and I was just like, God, forgive me. I have sinned and I know I have. I've done wrong things, I've done bad things, and I recognize that and I'm sorry. And then I just prayed that I believe that Jesus died for me. I believe that it's real. I believe that a perfect man came to earth and he died and took all of the sins of everyone who has sinned before on that cross. And he took all of that blame. He took it all. And therefore, if we believe in him, we are made perfect. Our sins are no more because Jesus died. And so I prayed that prayer and I was just like, oh my goodness, okay, yes, I'm a Christian now. And I just went to sleep so happy. I was bawling my eyes out crying in this prayer, but like when I was praying, but yeah, sure. And then the next day, I just woke up just feeling so great. I was like, wow, like God's with me. Like I immediately was like, wow, it's not just my life anymore. I don't have to do life alone. I'm not alone in this. Go on with my day. And then I remember my phone stopped working completely. I had a dodgy phone at the time. And I really wanted to take photos of people on the last day of camp. And so I was just, I was really upset because my phone had just stopped working completely. I had just been trying for 2 hours to get my phone to turn on. I turned it on, off. I'd been trying everything. I've been trying all different techniques, searching up on Google on someone else's phone, everything. And then a girl said to me, she was like, have you tried praying about it? And I was like, No, I haven't. So we did a collective prayer together. Like a bunch of us were like, Lord, I pray that like Harris's phone turns on. If it doesn't, I pray for peace for her. Then I literally just turned the on button and just turned straight on and just worked completely for like the next month. And then I got a new phone by the time it ran out, like stopped working. And I was just like, what the heck? I was like, I'd never had like an answered prayer or an experience from God before I gave my life to Jesus. And yeah, I was just like, wow, this is a different life. Since then, it's been 10 years. So there have been some ups and downs, trust me. It has not been like, yay, the entire time. There have been a lot of times of coming back to Christ after periods of like ups and downs and different stuff. But one thing that has remained is God has stuck with me every single time. Even when I feel like he's so far away and like I'm alone, I've been able to look back at those periods and be like, wow, God was actually closer to me than I realized. So there's been a lot more stories in my life that I could probably share on here. I feel like I'm a bit of an open book when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I would love to talk about it more on YouTube. They're stories of my life and my experiences that I've gone through, and I just feel like cool. I just feel cool to share about it. Anyone watching this, I don't know if you're a Christian, not a Christian, completely atheist, or you're just thinking about, you're just confused and it's just like, I just hope that either way that this story has given you a fresh perspective. I don't know. It's my story, and it's probably the greatest story of my life. It's the thing that changed my life, and I can see a massive change from those 14 years of the beginning of my life to when I gave my life to Christ. And yeah, it was pretty rough in certain areas after I gave my life to Christ. I had new challenges. I changed as a person. I came home from camp, and my mum was literally like, oh my goodness, this is a different daughter than who left full camp in the first place. Like, people could visibly see the change in me. And 10 years later, I'm now at Bible college. That's the end of my testimony. I'm gonna leave now. I hope you enjoyed. And let me know if you want me to share any. I have so many like big life moments and stories like this. So this is a big because I gave my life to Jesus. But yeah, let me know and maybe I'll do some more. Okay, bye.